Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind just kind of introducing yourself, where you're from, kind of what you're doing and stuff like that, give viewers a good idea.
All right. My name's Shawn Douglas. I live in Eastern Kentucky. I've been journeyman lineman for about the last 6 years. Got into union about 9 years ago. Since then, after topping out and everything, I've just kind of worked my way up, and I'm in a foreman position now. Got a four-man crew that I run. We do a lot of they call it dock work, which is just odds and ends. You do something different every day.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
no monotony or anything like that. Every once in a while, we'll get reconduct, pole change outs, just all kinds of different type of work you can do in the trade. I've come leaps and bounds, you know what I mean? I remember when I first started, and I just felt like the dumbest person in the world. You know what I mean? I didn't know nothing. I was constantly getting yelled at, the whole 9 yards. Material thrown at me. You know what I mean? It was one of those things like I come up with a bunch of old timers, and I
yeah,
mean that's the way it was. You know what I mean? Like if you messed up, they make sure you didn't mess up again because it was told to me your first mistake a lot of times is your last. So I appreciated all of that coming up. But I look back on it now as to where I'm at from when I started, and I mean it just blows my mind. You know what I mean? Just really how much knowledge you gain so quickly and everything. But
yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions I kind of want to ask was like, so I went through in the Northwest, so Washington, Oregon, Northern Idaho, Northern California on the construction side of it. And that's all, now that I'm a lineman, one of the things that I've really wanted to do, just because I'm still young enough and I'm still single, like there's nothing really holding me down in one place. So now that I've been topped out, like about a year and a half or so now, I just want to travel. I want to see as much different places and just get that experience as much as I can. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, and it kind of sounded like you were just kind of talking about it, is like a lesson that I guess you might have learned or was taught to you when you were coming up, but it's stuck with you through your whole career so far. But now that you will teach apprentices the same thing that you were taught,
Oh yeah.
because it was a perfect example. Kind of what you were saying, it's kind of a hard come up, but it's a big lesson. Also, I mean, I feel like I've had that same experience as well.
Well, there's so many of these young kids, and I mean, I don't mean this with any disrespect towards anybody or anything like that. Um, they expect everything to come easy, and this is not a trade or a career for somebody that expects something handed to them.
Yeah,
Uh, Trust is one of the biggest things in line work. If you can't trust the man next to you, there's nobody's going to lean on you or depend on you for anything. I mean, you have to know what you're doing because I mean, like you make one mistake, it may not be you that gets hurt, but it may be the guy in the bucket next to you that gets hurt. You know, you have to have a good game plan on what you're doing and have good knowledge of the work at hand for the guy next to you to truly trust you with it. Because I mean, like where the area I work at, we work on it's like 7,200 volts. They call it 7,200,
yeah,
or we've got 19.9, 34.5. I know a lot of the area you work in, like 34.5, anything over 7,200, they've got you hot sticking. Well, where I work, you'll throw 34.5 on the lip of the bucket, take off with it. You know, I mean, you can glove it all in your rubber goods and everything. Different areas have different rules. You know what I mean? And with anybody that's interested in traveling, I would say do it 100%. Because everywhere you go, you're going to pick something up that you've never seen before.
amen.
Like where I'm at, it's a lot of the old school stuff because there's a lot of hills and mountains. You know, I mean, we'll be hand setting poles with pike poles and 6-shift blocks and, track machines and, having to winch a pole up the side of a mountain with a big piece of Amstel rope. And,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of different things you can learn. Like I've worked anywhere from New York to Missouri. It's about the farthest west I've went. And everywhere I've been, I've picked up something different. You
yeah,
know, and that stuff right there, like that is the handiest thing ever was. Because I mean, you'll be out working and be like, I remember so and so done this way, and that went so smooth, and that that's another little trick that you've got in your hat for anything that comes up. But traveling, I would highly recommend traveling for anybody, just because such a wide variety of workers out there that do things different ways. I've got a second step apprentice. This is his first distribution gig. I first got him about 2 months ago. He couldn't tell you what a number 2 preform, what color it was, But he's to the point now, I mean, 2 months in, I'll go show him the pole we're going to work out and tell him what it's going to be, and he's got all the material laid out on the ground ready to go up the hand line for the lineman. And that's what 2 months worth of training is. I don't cut him no slack, I have high expectations for people out here, but the boy stepped up to the plate. So that gets him a little more time in his tools, gets him a little bit of time in the bucket, stuff like that. You got to earn your keep. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%. I know when I was like a third or fourth step apprentice, I was the same thing. I was on a heavy crew, 3 journeymen basically. That's including the foreman, and I'd be like, oh man, I was gung ho. I wanted to get the tools on, I wanted to climb up the pole. We were doing distribution, and he's like, heck no, you ain't going up on that pole until everything on the ground is done. But as soon as everything on the ground is complete, you can get your tools on, climb up there, help them do what they need to do, then hit the dirt, and then obviously once they get boomed down, get the tools, whatever you got to do. But it's definitely it's a huge thing, just like you have to earn that keep. You have to, and it all just kind of depends on what crew you're working on and who you're working with. You kind of have to read the vibe, just the temperature in the room a little bit too at the same time. But there are expectations that apprentices or groundmen, like, you gotta have, where you're working. So I want to also touch on something else you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, is that you were talking about just being there. You have to have that right mentality and mindset to have, because you're working with another guy up in the air on 7200. Like, this stuff will kill you instantly if you just make the wrong mistake. Unfortunately, I've had a couple incidents in my career so far, which nothing has been harmful yet, but have been an eye-opener to me and the guys in my crew for sure, is like a phase-to-ground or phase-to-phase thing that happened basically in front of my face, and I realized, like, that happens way too fast. Like, you have no idea. It's just all of a sudden it's there. And I'm thinking about it because, like, about a month ago, I was working in California, and I had a Saturday off. It took went on dirt biking, and I ended up crashing my dirt bike real bad, messed my body up a little bit, got a real bad concussion, and I ended up just having to drag up and just not be at work because my brain was screwed up, and I just had to realize that I'm looking out for myself and for the guys in my crew, and if I'm going up in the air and my mind ain't in the right place, and I kill him or kill myself or hurt somebody, God forbid that. I don't honestly think I could, there's no way I could go back working this trade if I were to do something like that. So it's huge to have a clear mind, positive attitude, just a good mindset when it comes to this line of work.
Well, that's the hard thing about it too is, and this trade it is honestly like an alpha male top trait. You know what I mean? Everybody's the biggest, the baddest, the best lineman in the world. It doesn't matter who you come across. It's their way or no way. You know what I mean? Those type of people. But the thing about it is, whenever you get into, like, I'm union. I've always been union.
Yeah. Amen.
That brotherhood mentality that's there, even though these guys, I'd go toe-to-toe with every one of them, but I'd have their back every day. If I could walk up to them and, like, man, I've got a lot of crap going on, it's like, you just sit over and chill for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of how rough and tough people act and everything like that, the union brotherhood will take care of each other. I remember my dad passed away and everything. I never missed a single hour for a whole week because that foreman told me, he said, son, you go home and take care of what you need to take care of. And you know what I mean? That's what it's all about. That's the reason I love this trade, is because, like, I have extended family now. You know what I mean? Like, I've got guys I ain't seen in 2 or 3 years that I used to work for. I could call them, tell them, hey, man, I need some help. And they'd be on their way or send money or whatever I need, you know what I mean? But that's one of the biggest things that I love about this is because, like, after you get yourself established and show your worth, these guys will have your back all the way to the end. It doesn't matter what it is.
Dude, that's awesome because the whole time you were talking about that, I literally was getting goosebumps because it's so true.
Yeah.
I've had
it really is.
similar experiences with the Brotherhood mentality is like, I mean, I think one of the reasons like guys from the military, I mean, I've worked with guys, from the military, and that's one of the reasons they find out is about that brotherhood, how strong it is with us. It's like clicks obviously just home with them because that's the same thing they had in the military as well. Yep. So, but yeah, it's very true, man. The brotherhood thing is just, it's awesome, man. Like you're saying, grandparents passing away, whatever, and they're like, hey, dude, you just go home. Don't worry about it. You're taken care of. And like, I'm an apprentice. Like, I would never think, but they're like, dude, you're still a brother. It doesn't matter. Yep. So it's really cool. The brotherhood aspect is just awesome. I love it.
And I mean, for anybody that is interested in getting into this line of work, like I said, it's rough, it's tough, it's hard. You'll come home sore. I mean, I started out doing transmission, lacing steel and stacking steel towers. You know what I mean? 200 foot in the air up there with a, steel cable holding a 3,000 pound piece of steel over top of your head. And you're trying to drive in these bull dicks and everything like that. Like, by the end of that day, man, I mean, you're beat and broke down. You know what I mean? But whenever that alarm goes off the next morning, there ain't nothing else you'd rather be doing. I mean, you can't beat the view, you can't beat the work. I mean, it's just, I think one of the standards that should be for anybody looking to get into this line of work, I had an old man told me whenever I was coming up, he said, son, let me tell you the best trick about being a lineman. He said, you got to be dumb enough to do this stuff, but smart enough not to die. And that's stuck with me ever since because, I was that guy, you know what I mean? I could do anything with my hands, you know what I mean? But I just had enough ignorance about me to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so. I agree because it's funny because there's one thing I remember when I was a first step apprentice, same thing. I got in, I was doing transmission for my first 2 steps, but there was an old timer there with me and we were up in the lattice tower together. And I can't exactly remember what I did, but I was just like, oh, crap, I'm sorry. And he like stopped and dropped everything. He's like, you don't apologize to me. Don't say you're sorry. He's like, what happens if you hurt or kill me? You're just going to say sorry? He's like, you have to figure this stuff out, blah, 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 blah. He's like, don't apologize to me. He's like, just own up to your mistakes. And I was like, yes, sir. And that's carried with me through my whole entire life. Now I'll have groundmen or apprentices. And they'll be like, hey, dude, Austin, I'm sorry. I'm like, hey, dude, don't apologize to me. Just get better at it. Whatever, you're saying sorry about. Yeah. Like, you can't say sorry to your brother who you killed because you weren't cut in or you weren't doing your job right. So, it's like little things like that as you're coming up, like, they just stick with you for life.
And and you don't really see it or understand it or realize it until you have topped out and you've got a couple years under your belt.
Yeah.
I remember, like, after I topped out my first year, I classified myself as a first-year lineman. You know what I mean? Because I didn't feel I was a journeyman lineman. I learned more that first year being topped out because I went 3.5 years with somebody standing right beside me saying, all right, do this, do this, do this.
Yes.
My first day as a JL, they handed me a brand-new third step that just became a Honda Apprentice and said, there's your apprentice. We flew up in the bucket. He was all gung-ho to work. I was nervous wreck. He said, what do you want me to do? I said, you stand there with your hands in your pocket. I said, I know enough to keep me from dying, but not enough to keep you from dying.
Yeah.
I said, you just stand there. If I need a tool, you hand it to me. I was like, we'll just do it like that for a while. After a couple weeks went by, my confidence built up a little more, and it just kind of goes from there. You know what I mean? It's a trade to where you can't be afraid of it, but you have to respect it with everything that you have.
Absolutely.
Fear will get you killed, and being sloppy with your trade will get you killed. Mm-hmm. But as long as you respect it, you'll be just fine.
That's exactly it. Through my whole apprenticeship, I remember guys telling me they're like, your first year as a journeyman is like the most important year because yeah, you're on your own, you're doing your own thing. No one's telling you what you got to do. Like you learn so much in that first year. You essentially learn more in that first year than you do your whole apprenticeship. Just like you were saying, because like the possibilities are really endless when it comes down to it. Because if you're a journeyman, you're young, you're single like me, like there's nothing holding you down. Like you can go out and you just go see things, and it's like we were talking earlier. There's so much this trade. It's small, but it's massive at the same time. Like everywhere you go, it's different, man. Like I don't know, Northwest's different than like anywhere else because you stick everything in Northwest, no matter what. Like no matter what voltage or anything. So it's like California. Like right now, I'm in Arizona. I worked in New Mexico for a little while. Like last year, I worked some hurricanes, some storms on the East Coast. Like I just think like it's crazy the amount of stuff that's just like holy smokes, this trade is massive, but it's so small at the same time. Like it's crazy, but honestly, I love it. Like I always tell myself, I really wouldn't trade it for much anything else. Like I couldn't do an office job, you know. And that's the thing. Like that's why I started this academy because like I want to help people, so you don't have to spend like if you want to get into it, you don't have to spend that 15, 20, 25K, whatever it costs. People go to vocational schools or they'll go to a line school. And like I've run into those guys now that I've been traveling around and I'm like, hey, did you go to a line school or whatever? They're like, yeah, I went to XYZ. And I was like, well, and they didn't teach you this? Like this is a very like vital part of like you spent that much money and time there and they didn't teach you this? And they're like, well, you can't only teach so much in 4 months at a line school. So it's like there's pros and cons of maybe going, but I guess one thing is just like I guess you kind of learn if it's maybe for you, you know, climbing your hooks and stuff like that. But you'll learn all that once you get in an apprenticeship. It don't matter because it's completely different. Once you actually get out there working with the guys, you get on a crew, like it's a whole different ball game. So having the right mindset and positivity and willing to learn and just keep on going.
And that's just it. Is like for anybody just getting into this trade, like you might as well plan on if you want to learn something, you're going to have a lineman that's going to talk down to you and put you in your place. Because just like you were saying with the military, this is pretty much, it's not on that level, but it's the same mentality of it, is we want you to be trained and to know the right way of doing everything, and what you think you know will get you killed. You know what I mean? Like that's every bit of it. I had a boy message me the other day, and he was like, you know, commenting on one of my videos. He's like, I wish I had a foreman like you. All my lineman does is yell at me, blah, blah, blah. And I told him, I said, as a foreman, I should never have to talk to my apprentice. I said, there's a pecking order out here.
Pecking order, that's what I was going to say.
I was like, that's a huge thing. I said, my apprentice don't just come up and talk to me. Like, he goes and talks to his lineman because that's his boss. I was like, if that lineman can't line it out, he comes and talks to me. I was like, then we go from there, you know. But the pecking order is a huge, huge thing. And for any young guys that's wanting to get into the trade and everything, you might as well just suck it up and deal with it. You know, I mean, guys are going to get in your hind end because it's such a dangerous job. But at the same time, if it wasn't for guys like us, this country wouldn't be doing what it's doing right now. I mean, the power grid goes down and everything's done. I mean, and I think it was 5 years ago, they said that on average with all the guys that are retiring right now, they were needing over 100,000 linemen within the next 10 years.
Jeez, it's
and
insane.
That, you know, you don't want just guys that, like, oh, well, I went through the apprenticeship. You want quality hands able to do the work. You know, I mean, you want everybody to go home at the end of the day. You know, and that's the main thing is being able to trust your guys enough to just turn them loose, you know. But
yeah, I mean, when I worked in like these southern states a little bit, there's you get a lot of non-union guys that come over, and they basically they work with the crews, and the crew will kind of be like, oh yeah, he's good, and then he'll basically challenge a test, right? He becomes a journeyman lineman of the union. But when I was working in New Mexico, I had a guy. He came non-union. He's been like spent a few years in the trade or something like that, and I was like, oh, I don't know about this guy. Like, he didn't go through an apprenticeship. Like, I don't know what the heck to expect from him. So I was worried, but he had to come up in the buck with me, because my foreman and the other guys on the crew were like, okay, we got to see how he works so we can kind of test his abilities, so we can report to the GF, blah, 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 as a pecking order, right? So,
Right.
and I was told the guy, I was like, hey, dude, like, I know you're not really familiar with, like, the apprenticeship and stuff, but, dude, you're a 6-step apprentice to me. I said,
Yeah.
this is how I'm going to treat you, like a 6-step apprentice, and this is how I treat apprentices. If you don't like it, then just get out of the bucket, because this is how it's going to be. And he's like, oh,
Yep.
no, dude, I agree with you 100%. You treat me how you need to treat me. And I was like, okay, he has a little bit of respect for me. And he actually killed it on the air. I was super surprised. So I had to kind of ask him about his backstory and what his experience was and this and that.
Right.
But he said, like, the whole reason he came to the union side was because the way the guys treat each other on the non-union side was just, I don't want to be a part of that. And he knew how the guys treated each other on the union side with the Brotherhood is completely different and better. So he said ever since he came union, it's the best thing he's ever done, though. I mean, so.
And that's the thing about it, too. Like, I can't even, like, dog any non-union outfits, because I have seen some daggone good hands come over from non-union.
Yeah.
I mean, boys that, they've got the skill set from years of work, you know what I mean? And, but I've also seen non-union hands that I wouldn't trust them on a dead secondary pole, but I've seen that on the union side too. So, I mean, that's the reason, like, for anybody that listens to this or anything like that, that's the reason JLs are usually so hard when they first meet you, is because they don't know if you have half a clue of what you're doing out here. And you get somebody killed, and that's a huge, huge ordeal.
Oh,
I mean,
massive.
It's just not worth it. I'd rather hurt somebody's feelings and everybody go home than just spare somebody's feelings and somebody die.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. So, like, I'm kind of curious too about, like, the so I don't know too much about, like, how things operate in your neck of the woods over there. Is it how's a workload? I mean, like, look over and, like, I guess, is it Midwest? I guess Eastern kind of, but, like, I know how it is on the West Coast. I'm familiar, but I'm just kind of curious.
I'm on the East Coast. Like, I live, it's about an hour from the West Virginia line, so I actually work in Huntington, Charleston, West Virginia area. There is so much work to be done over here. It's ridiculous. We had that couple ice storms that come through, and they tore everything up. But there's so much just repair work from, like, years of people just neglecting stuff pretty much. But most of our work, man, like, it's seriously right-of-way work. Like, we're in track machines, cutting our own roads in. I mean, it's legit. Like, I love it just because it's, I'm not sitting on the side of the blacktop, burning up in the heat of the sun or anything, but, like, I'm out in the woods, cut the trees down, I cut me a road in, go through the creek or whatever needs to be done. Like, it's just something different every time. But we have so much work, I mean, it'll take us forever. You know what I mean? We just signed, I think it was a 5-year contract with the power company over here for our union. And the company I'm with, we're the first union contractors in this area because it was predominantly all non-union territory. So we just landed a 5-year contract here, which is the first time this power company, I believe, has ever offered, like, anything over a 2-year contract. So we've made a really good showing for ourselves and everything, and that's all that we're trying to do. We're not trying to, like, run any non-union people out, but at the same time, they've been here for 20 years. I figure it's our turn now.
Hey,
I mean, it's just the way I like being home every night. It's the first time in 9 years that I've been able to see my kids every night. Sleep in my own bed type situation. But it's good. you know, I enjoyed traveling and everything like that, but I got a chance to be home with the family, so I figured why not take it, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, it comes to a point, like, it'll come to a point, me too, like, you know, you just travel so much, then you kind of have to decide whether, like, what's the reason you're traveling? Is it just because you want to make money? Because, yeah, I can go work in California, you know, 6-7 days a week, 16-hour days with all this per diem, and yeah, I can make good money, but, like, what kind of life is that? Like, that's all you want to do is that's all you do is work and make money. Or are you traveling for, like, my side of things is for, like, the experience, to see different things.
Exactly.
I don't do it so much for the money. I want to do it because there's just so much to do and see in this line of trade. So, like, and I want to learn as much as possible as well. So, kind of, yeah.
And that's the good thing about it, though, too. I mean, like, me, I've been home every night for the last 2 years, right? Well, say Monday morning I show up, and I just decide, I'm done. I call and tell them I'm dragging up, getting my tools, I'm going to the house. Before I leave that yard, I'll have another job. Anywhere that I want to work. I can pick and choose, find a hall, call them, get on the books. 3 or 4 hours, I'll have a job. That is the good thing about this trade. It's not a privilege to take advantage of.
Yeah.
But it's something that you have to know is there. That way, whenever things start going south or anybody's trying to break down conditions or anything like that, it's like, I'm just going to go ahead and ease on out. Y'all do what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I see it. Because me and my wife, we've been talking about just buying a fifth wheel and me going back out on the road because we've got all the stuff to homeschool our kids and everything. I can take my family with me anywhere I want to go in the U.S. You know, I mean,
exactly.
It's just, and I can make good money regardless of where I'm at. She doesn't have to worry. My kids don't have to worry. And I'm not bragging or nothing like that, but, like, we live a good life. You know what I mean? My kids don't want for anything. My wife doesn't want for anything. Like, we live a humble life, and I thank God for that every day. But line work has gave me something I didn't have as a child. You know what I mean? I remember the times going to the store and asking for a toy, and my dad being like, we ain't got the money right now. I grew up and had my first kid. I never wanted to have to say this word, and so far I haven't. And, you know, I thank God for that every day. But
that's very true.
Yep.
Just being able to not have to just live paycheck to paycheck, and like you were saying earlier, like things slow down in your area, and it's like, well, the companies, like contractors, like, well, dude, we gotta start laying off guys, blah blah blah, and you're like, most people are gonna be like, oh crap, you're letting me go. What am I gonna do now? But hey, as a lineman, you're like, well, I'm just gonna have to hit the road for a little bit until things pick back up again. Not a big deal.
You remember where I parked my truck, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's one of the cool things. I meet a lot of guys when I've worked out in California that are, they like all over the place. I mean, I've met guys from all over the United States out there because they come out there, you know. It's basically the gold rush still out here. So, but yeah, it's super cool to see guys, you know, just you meet people from all over the joint. I really like it. I like meeting new people and just being able to learn new things. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go too long. We've been going about a half hour. I know you probably got things going on. You got family to take care of and stuff like that. So it's good talking to you. Good meeting you, and stay in touch, man, for sure. Just stay safe out there.
You need anything, let me know.
Oh, yeah. Same likewise.
Have a good one, bro.
All right. See you later.